Before I get into the book, which I really, really did love, The Invisible Anatomy, I wanted to kind of set the tone here a little bit and give you a platform to share your story, how you got into basically cultivating this, this artistry of your own intuition, which I feel so many people are lacking these days. So maybe if we heard a little bit about how you were able to understand that you were such an intuitive being, as we all are, that would set the tone for the rest of the show.
Okay, thank you. I think it started, I feel that it started when I was a young girl growing up in a family with my mother using her intuition as a professional. And there was a bit of a conflict there because I was raised in a Baptist Christian environment. And at that time in the 70s, that world of psychic, intuition, mediums, it wasn't a kind word. It wasn't a kind phrase. It wasn't a really respectable or credible industry. It was more looked upon as charlatanism or, things that weren't real. And so I didn't embrace what intuition is until much later in my life. I ended up in a corporate environment. I ended up opening a personnel company. And I fought very hard against whatever that was that my mom was into, whatever it was that she ended up in newspapers and fantastic findings. It wasn't anything that I was keen on exploring or understanding. I really kind of shut the door. It wasn't of interest to me at all. It seemed to be so far-fetched. Even though I knew that my mother was a very sincere, integrity-driven person, I wasn't interested. And so as I went along in my own corporate career, one thing that I did start to notice, which I really didn't want to notice, is the interviewing process. I always felt or heard this is where the person would be placed and they would be permanent as opposed to temporary. I would go into bidding situations with other corporations, very large corporations in the employment industry, recruiting industry. And I knew the number. I knew that Bank of America had a $2.7 million contract, that the rates were this amount. And after a few years, and I know it took me a little while for it to sink in because I was actually enjoying my success, was having a great time. I knew that somewhere inside myself that it couldn't be my intelligence. It couldn't just be that I was just a fantastic person and I was just so super smart, intelligent that I could, know this. And so I really started to think that I might have a gift of some sort, that I was able to access my intuition much quicker or much deeper than the average person. And so I was at dinner with a friend and he was explaining to me something about his health. And all of a sudden, I just saw the entire situation, meaning I understood why he was sick. I understood where it placed itself within his body. I understood why it happened. And I really thought I needed either more alcohol or I needed to really sit back and say, you need to be serious about what's happening because you obviously have some sort of connection to intuition, so you may want to explore it. Fast forward, I was at a clinic and I was explaining to one of the physicians that I knew personally that I may have a gift, that I may have an idea of how I could support her because she was overworked. She had 20 patients a day. And so we set up a time to sit down together. And she said, well, how should we see? Like, how should we see what your gift is or how you can explore, what you know? And I said, well, just grab 10 files. And she said, really? And I said, just grab them. Who knows? Like, I don't know, but let's try. And so she grabbed the files. We were sitting across from each other. And she said, okay, I'm just going to pick up one file. I said, okay, just say the person's name. And she said, okay. So she said the person's name. And then all of a sudden, I just started to, okay, she's this age. This is what she looks like. This is what you're treating her for. And we both just stared at each other like, what? And then I thought, okay, it's a fluke. It can't be real. Give me another one. Give me another one. So that 10 set of files ended up being 40. And it was just truly amazing to sit with her and allow myself to be very vulnerable to making any mistake. But fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't make one mistake, not one. And so I wasn't proud of myself. I just knew that I probably needed to take a different direction in my life because I was able to access information that the average person might not have been able to access. And so it changed my life. I was in my mid 30s and I kicked, screamed, fought the whole way. But I knew in medicine, this was the key for me. I wasn't going to be 1-800 psychic. I knew that in medicine, if I could prove myself, that I would be doing a service and I would be able to help other people understand that it's not, yes, I have intuition. Yes, I understand how to grow intuition. I understand how to shut the brain off. I understand how to only access feelings, thoughts. But I wanted to share with other people that first, we all have it. And that's a part of my book, The Invisible Anatomy. It's a sensory system that we're born with. Second, if I could help doctors and I really did have information, that it would also help them understand how to explore a deeper understanding of what the patient illness is. And so as a corporate person, then I was able to kind of access that part of my own self into making it a brand of a business in an industry that was credible. And that was really the bottom line for me, is that I was able to grow other professional individuals' understanding and learning about their own intuition in helping with patient care. And so that was 25, 28, 30 years ago. And that's it.
Yeah,
you just wake up and you just say, listen, if you have it, you may as well use it.
It's a great story of tapping into your gifts, tapping into what you were given. And, I do believe we all have that ability for intuition, just like we all have the ability to possibly, move our body. And some are very good at playing sports through their body and others aren't as good, but we all have that kind of core ability.